we're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about hustling. We're going to talk about that money, just how to make it, how to keep it, how to make it work for you, and how not to lose it, which also tends to happen when you decide to get into business. So I hope you're here to learn just as much as I am, and I hope you're here with expectations, because we're going to try and seek to just fill those expectations, right? So an hour and a half, we're going to have a good time, no pressure, no much seriousness on this conversation today, and I intend to have a good time, so I hope you're also planning to have a good time. Great. I just want, first of all, to say thank you to the Ready2Work team who have made this possible. I think they do an amazing job. For those of you who might not know about Ready2Work, it's a skills program by Absa that seeks to give you skills on how to run a business, how to manage money, life skills. Just visit any of our social media channels and you learn a little bit more about Ready2Work, right? And this conversation today is courtesy of Ready2Work. So, we just need to get a couple of things right, just to make sure we have an efficient conversation. So I'm going to read out some few house rules, and then we're going to get started. First and foremost, you're all on mute, and there's a reason for that. Those of you who have been on calls, now that we all live in the world of Zoom, you know what happens. You've heard all the funny stories of what happens in the background, so we don't want those funny stories today, so you're all on mute, and that's intentionally so. But don't worry, if you have anything to say, any comment, any question, there's a chat section on the platform, or commenting on our social media pages, and I will be going through those questions later with the panelists, okay? We're also recording this session. Now, that's good, because if for one reason or the other technology lets you down, or you have to drop off to get somewhere, please feel free to come back to our channels anytime, really, and you will find the recording on the platform there as well. We'll be running a short poll towards the end just to get a feel of what you guys have taken out of the session. I encourage you to please participate, and let's keep it as interactive as possible. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. I know you're keen to see who I have on my panel today. I will start with the person on my right, and I'm very excited to be able to have you here today. Her name is Joanna Kinuthia. She goes by many titles, but I'll go with the one that is simplest for me to say, which is she's a social media influencer. I was about to say social. She's a social media influencer and founder of Joanna K Cosmetics. Karibu sana. Please say a quick hi.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, ready to share what I've learned and also to learn from everyone else who's here.
Awesome, awesome. Karibu sana, Joanna. And then my next panelist, I'm very excited, always a pleasure having a conversation with her, Elizabeth Wasuna. She's a business banking director here at Absa. She has a wealth of experience in working with small businesses, big businesses, all manner of businesses over many years. I'm sure she has a lot to say, and we'll be getting into a conversation with her later. Elizabeth, please say hi.
Good morning, everyone. Very excited to be here today, simply because, again, it's a platform to learn. Not just you learning from me, but me learning from you as well, so that we can make this environment better, easier, faster, better for all who are listening. Thank you.
Thank you, and karibu sana. Last but not least, he claims that he's here to represent the boy child. I don't know what my job is if he's representing the boy child. David Mureithi, aka DJ Delight, and he goes by many, many titles, but I'll stick to the ones that at least you and I can understand. He's the CEO of Creative Enterprise Center and Finance Director at 6 Arms Limited, and he'll be telling us more about that. Karibu sana, David. Please say a quick hi.
Representing the man-child. This is DJ Delight. I also go by my ID name's David Mureithi, and I'll be here to talk to you about my successes as well as my failures as a creative entrepreneur. I hope you get to learn something new.
Beautiful, beautiful. Karibuni sana. And I just, there's no, what's the word? I don't think there's a formal format per se, right? I think it's just going to be us having a quick conversation, and then we see what happens. If I say my own things, if I flounder along the way, just keep talking, Yeah. And then I'm sure our audience is going to appreciate whatever you have to say. So I want to allow me to do a quick reference here to my wonderful little phone that can sometimes decide to let me down. Elizabeth, I want to start with you. Yeah. I have the pleasure of working closely with you here at Absa. I've seen the work you do. I've seen the passion that you have for businesses, for small businesses, and just trying to just empower. And you've done this even in your previous life and everything, right? Just what is this that excites you so much about businesses and small businesses?
Thank you, Alex, for that question. I think for me, the reason why I get so excited about business is because you see the growth. You know, you start with, it's like a child. You see the child born, and you see the child grow, and you enjoy seeing how confident they become, how open they become to trying new things and succeeding, you know, sometimes falling a little bit, but being able to really stand on their own. And then finally, being able to help others. This is really, my passion, just to see how we can support business. And business can start from, the fact that it's a mamamboga and end up as a supermarket. There's no limit to what you can do.
Yeah.
It really, really depends on, how much passion you have for that business and what it is that you want. What is your legacy? What do you want to leave as your legacy post your business? Yeah. So I really enjoy walking the journey with the businesses. Of late, of course, it has been really towards also ensuring that women take their place in the business world. But also not leaving outside the youth and the people with disabilities, because they all form part of our environment. We cannot leave them behind. Yeah. When you look at businesses for women, just very briefly, they're 50% of the population, so you can't afford to leave them behind. Yeah. So I support, women growing their businesses, SMEs growing their businesses, young people starting to have the conversations, and it's really exciting to see them grow.
Wow. Wow. So you've said women in business, you've said young people in business. Joanna here is a young woman in business. So I'm sure you're very excited to have her, next to you and to hear her story, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I already started having a conversation with her because I can see already, how she's connecting and trying to set herself up. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Joanna, I mean, Elizabeth talked about passion, right? And I don't know if that is, because I don't think without passion, you'd be doing what you do.
Absolutely.
And maybe for the sake of those who might not know Joanna, I don't know which hole they've been living under, but just tell people what you do, but what motivated you to get into this?
Okay, so what I do is I'm a content creator. So I create videos on YouTube and content on Instagram as well. It is a career, guys. It's a career. And then also I'm the founder and CEO of my own business, Joanna K Cosmetics. So I create and sell makeup.
Yeah. So
I got started creating content because I've always had a passion for makeup. For many years, I've had that passion. And I can't tell you how many YouTube videos I've watched to actually learn how to do my own makeup. Yeah. I think at this point I've done my 10,000 hours for sure. So I got into it because I realized the people who are watching on YouTube, the products they were using were not accessible to us. I mean, we're watching people in the US and in the UK, and you can learn the skill, yes, but sometimes you also want to use what they're using, and it was not really accessible to us here. So I decided, what, I have the skill and I've been able to find products here that get you the same result. So why not share that?
Yeah.
So that's why I got started. And then eventually I decided to take it now to the next level by now making my own products and selling them to my audience.
Wow. And I think you've been doing that for 2 years now, right?
Yeah, I've been running my business I just entered my 3rd year, but for creating content, I've been doing it for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw a video you did the other day of I think you called it painful truths, I think, of being in business. And
hard truths, yeah.
Hard truths. I'll come back to that in a moment. David, let's bring the man-child, or not man-child. What did he say? Yes, it is the man-child, he said.
Man-child.
Let's bring the man-child.
From the boy-child.
Oh, the boy-child.
Who you apparently are representing.
My friend.
We joke a lot.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you've been doing this for a minute.
Don't call me old on
I'm
screen.
not saying you're
You
old.
know, there's thousands of people out there.
I'm not saying
Be
you're
very
old. I'm
careful,
just
Alex.
saying
Our
you're
relationship-
experienced. There's a difference. Yeah.
I have been, yes.
You've
Indeed.
been doing this for a minute. What I find fascinating about you is, you've got your own successes as well in business, but then you decided to also invest in helping young people to turn their passion into profit, right? Just share a little bit more about that.
Well, the way I like to describe myself is, and like many of us, we are all born creative. Every child who's born is born creative. Along the line, I managed to develop some financial skills and became an auditor for my sins. And then branched out later into a family business, which is real estate, which is what takes up about 50% of my time. But I've always been passionate about the creative sector, which I've been involved in for the last 32 years.
Wow.
Both in the UK and here in Kenya. And I've lived on both worlds and learnt a lot. And for the last 15 years, I've been very privileged, and I use the word privilege, to travel around Africa helping young creative entrepreneurs run their businesses better. And that's where my passion really lies. Yeah.
Wow. And that, there's always this struggle, and when Joanna was introducing us, she said it's a career. It's because people don't actually think that being a creative is something that can turn into, a source of income and everything. And in your experience, is that working out? Are you seeing people who are successfully turning their passion into profit? And what is it that is helping that transition? What's the missing link between the two?
Well, first of all, I come from a generation where we had about 6 careers to choose from in our day. You're either a doctor, teacher, a lawyer, someone in finance, a civil servant, I missed one, and an engineer. Engineer kwanza hiyo. And if you didn't choose any one of those 6, you might have been considered, I don't use the word failure, but a little more disappointing than the other child who chose it. So, we grew up in a very different environment where, for example, being a creative was not considered a career. And that actually spurred part of my passion to really change that narrative, both from a skills point of view, but also from a policy point of view. Because I think it's very important for corporate Kenya, for the government, etc., to actually realize the potential of people such as Joanna, contributing to this economy very positively. However, part of the challenge I think we've had in that transition of acceptance is there's not enough mentorship, there's not enough guidance, there's not enough hand-holding to a large extent. And this is why a program such as this is absolutely fantastic. I was very excited to be part of this because I believe it's these initiatives that help entrepreneurs avoid some of the pitfalls that they don't really need to go through.
Yeah.
Because others have done it for them. So please listen keenly. Keenly. This is worth it.
Awesome. Okay. So let's get a bit practical now, right? Elizabeth. So Joanna, let's talking about before she decided to go commercial and do Joanna K Cosmetics. She's shooting videos, she's putting them up. People are loving them, they're watching them. She's making some money from advertising. She's come to Absa and she says, I'm an entrepreneur and I want you guys to help me grow, right? There is this, I'll say it because I know it's a concern of our viewers. I don't know whether to call it a communication gap or an expectation gap between banks and young people trying to get into business. Because more often than not, what they're doing is very unconventional. It's not any of the 6 things that David has just spoken about. What's that, and what do you have to say about that gap? What do you then say to Joanna when she's come to you and says, I want you to support my growth?
Thanks again. A very valid question, and something that we tend to deal a lot with in the business domain. When I meet someone like Joanna and we come in to have a conversation, it's important to share information to start off with, because in that sharing, we both prepare ourselves. A lot of the times, entrepreneurs will get information from outside the bank, They will speak to people who've interacted with different organizations. Maybe they will go into a book and just look at, how do you approach a bank, but not really come to the bank and ask them, what do you require? How can I be ready? How can I be prepared? So, when you come to the bank and you have that conversation, even before you need to borrow, because I think borrowing is not the only thing that the bank can do for you. We sit down with you and we walk through your business plan. What are you doing? For me, I look for how passionate are you about it? How engaged? Yeah. What are you contributing to your business? Have you done your business SWOT plan, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities? Have you thought through your plan? Do you have any backup? What happens when things don't work? Those are the kind of questions that I ask. And we ask because, sometimes people don't realize or we forget. A bank holds money on behalf of the population. So people come to us and deposit money with us. So we also have to be really responsible in how we lend the money.
Yeah.
And in that process, we then have to look at every plan we lend to and try to de-risk it. And when I talk about de-risking, is asking you questions of what if, poke holes. Have you thought through if this doesn't work? And I think a good example of that is during the COVID period that we've just had. I mean, for the customers who had a business plan, who had a business continuity plan, who had thought about worst case scenarios, who had reserves, who even had, backup plans in case this doesn't work. What is my backup? Those sort of businesses, the businesses that did the hard work at the beginning really ended up flourishing or being able to manage or being able to pause and restart in due course. The ones that didn't were those that just went in because, we have a lot of that also in the industry where you open a salon, I look across and say, I like that salon, and go ahead and open it. But I don't have passion. I don't have a continuity plan. I really am doing it because I had so-and-so is making money.
Doing it. Yeah.
So those are some of the things that we look at, in a conversation. And the more you engage with the bank proactively, even before you need that financing, the better it is because we teach you. And at Absa, I think we pride ourselves in being able to offer not just the financial support. Now we're offering the softer things, the mentoring, the coaching, the opening up of networks, the opening up of marketplaces, getting to exchange ideas, such as the platform that we have today. So people should not be afraid of engaging with the banks. We are open, we are ready, we love having people coming in to ask questions. You can come on your own, you can come as a group, whatever it is that is comfortable. You don't even have to come to the bank. Now we have all these platforms, so you can set up a platform and we can have that conversation so that you're empowered. I think that's the most important piece. Be empowered to have a conversation with us. Learn the terminologies that we use. Not because they are difficult, they are not difficult. They are just terminologies that we use and you need to know what they mean.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes, David.
Something I'd like to add to that. I'm so happy you've said what you've just said about interacting with the bank in different ways, not just to get credit. In my younger days, the pre-internet days. Anyway, in my younger days, starting off as a creative entrepreneur, one of the skills I learned is how to cut down on costs. So because I couldn't afford, a business consultant, I learned an old trick I'd learned from a mentor of mine. Apply for a loan at a bank. You get free financial advice. Get it?
Interesting.
So you apply for a loan. You're not probably going to get it because, but you get exactly what... Look, I'm just misusing now your bank. Totally. Giving them tips. Now you'll get 50,000 applications. But that's what I did, actually, as part of my entrepreneurship journey. I actually used to apply just to check where am I. And they'd give me advice like, they'd poke holes at my business plan. I'm like, oh, thanks for that. But eventually, actually, I did apply for a loan and I actually did get it because of those constant engagements. So I like what you said, actually. It doesn't hurt to start a relationship with the bank. And trust me, if you start off early, it really helps than going the day you need money. You're kind of like a stranger. It's like, who are you? We don't know you. We're not comfortable with you. So yes, I agree with what you said.
Interesting. John, you're at that stage, what you can call an early stage of a business, where probably some of the things that Elizabeth and David are talking about are very relevant to you.
Honestly, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask the question this way, though. What is your relationship with banks? Is it a healthy relationship? Is it an abusive relationship?
No,
Just generally, what has been your relationship with banks?
I think, first of all, I've learned something from what has been said here, because initially when I was starting Jana K Cosmetics, one of the ways I considered to raise money to start was to get a loan from the bank. But because of what I was doing, I mean, I was a YouTuber, I just wrote it off because I felt if I go to the bank and I say, guys, I'm a YouTuber, give me money, they'll give me nothing. So I didn't even try, I didn't even walk into a bank. I just wrote it off completely. So I think for me, that's actually something I've learned, that, I mean, you might not get the loan, or you might, or you could gain something from that interaction just by going. So my relationship with the banks right now, it's not abusive or toxic. It's okay. I'm not also gonna say it's amazing, which I think is also something I've picked from here. That I think I could do a bit more to, to actually build a relationship. Right now, I feel like there's no relationship.
And I feel like that's something people don't realize, that it's a relationship that you have to work on. It's, you don't go to a girl on day one and say, hey, be my wife. It's just, okay, I know some people have done that in the past, but for the rest of us, you have to date. You have to get to know each other. And I think that's what Elizabeth is also alluding to, that you have to grow together, right? And then you avoid all these disappointments, right? Okay, so we've gotten to the point where we've cleared the air on that issue of banks and do they really want to support young people? And I'm hoping that our audience is understanding that element of you have to start nurturing the relationship early. You have to just get them to know you, get them to know what you're doing. Take programs that help you to also understand how to be, I think the word is bankable, right? And I think the ReadytoWork program is one of those, because it teaches you all those basic skills that you need to learn for you to be able to join. I want to take a quick commercial break, because we said we were going to try and have fun, so it's just that was very nice, but very deep as well, right? So, guys, I'm sure there's some of you who are on this call who are already running something, whether it's like a little cyber, or it's a salon, or you're trying to become a YouTuber like Joanna, or you're in the creative space like David, and you're trying to grow in that space. I just want you to tell us a little bit about that business and how you feel about that business today. And if you do not mind, work with me here. Let's use colors to describe it. How do you feel about your business today? So red will means, for instance, I'm excited, I'm stoked, we're gonna, I'm the next Bill Gates, right? Yellow is, I'm having a good time. I love what I do. Blue is, tunaumia. It's a tough time, but we are trying. Green, I just feel nice. I feel like my business is just touching many lives, and I'm excited about it. Any of those four colors, or any other color you decide to share. If you decide purple is your color, please go ahead. But please post for me what color best describes where you are in business today and why. And I'll try to read some of them as we go. So I'll just give you like literally 30 seconds to do that for me. Hello again, welcome back. And thank you for those of you who have actually decided to share with me your colors. Let me just read some of them. I think it's quite interesting. I have Grace and Sarah who are saying that they are feeling yellow. I think that's awesome. You should be excited about what you're doing for a living. Someone says theirs is black. Wah? Tuko pamoja aki. There's someone who says, I have some businesses running, some are making profits, while some are rely on others for sustenance. That's a serial entrepreneur, which I think is quite brilliant. And David will tell us a little bit more about being a serial entrepreneur. So his office space is blue, his spices business is green, and he also has a Google AdSense business that is yellow. Okay, good stuff, man. Cynthia, honestly, blue. I'm in the courier service and it has been difficult. I have actually decided to take a break to re-strategize, and that's okay, because sometimes you need to do that, to just go back and re-strategize. Omoyo says white. Okay. She's not yet started, but she's hopeful that it will thrive. And that's, I mean, there's always that starting point. So all the best, Omoyo. Last but not least, David, is this you? No, you were not chatting. So it's
You never know. You never know.
David is yellow. The business is starting to rebound after 2020 and will definitely pick up over the next few years. Thank you guys so much. And I think I'm loving the different spirits that we're getting out of the audience. Joanna, what color would you use to describe your business?
What does blue and yellow make? I think I'm just somewhere there.
Yeah?
Where there are challenges, but I'm still excited.
You're still excited.
Somewhere there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Elizabeth, how are you feeling about business?
For me, it's not just red, passion red, because
Wow.
I have so much joy. I have so much joy doing what I do,
Yeah.
but also just being able to have a great impact. I mean, as a brand, as you all know, we moved from blue to red. And in that blue to red, we have said and I believe that as well, we are brave, passionate, and ready. And so passion red really speaks to the color that I feel today.
That you're feeling,
Yeah.
and you're dressed appropriately.
Absolutely. I had to put some red on.
Good stuff. David, how are you feeling?
Mine is the entire rainbow spectrum. Because I think for me, having been in business this long, we've gone through, it's a bit like being a Man U fan, which I have been actually for 32 years. I will tell you this. I went to university in Manchester 32 years ago, so you can do your math. And I joined Man U then. Now, for those of you who've been through business, it's like supporting, I wouldn't say the other teams, I wouldn't name another team, but it's like supporting Man U. You're through thick and thin, but sometimes, like the other day, we came out on top. So that's how I feel about my businesses. It's full rainbow. It's the full range of emotions. Happiness one day, black the other day, like what's said, red one day, yellow the other day. And you know what? That's what makes an entrepreneur.
That's amazing. I love that. I don't know if the fans of the other teams will appreciate the example, but it's fine. We'll make that happen. I had someone say the other day that when he was asked, I can't remember who it was, but I know it was somebody successful, and he was asked, what does success in business come down to? And he said it comes down to resilience and persistence. Resilience to mean that, the bad times will come whether you like them or not, right? And you have to be able to still stand your ground. Persistence means that even after being resilient, you keep going, And there's no secret formula to success per se. And it's just sometimes we give up a little, just before that big contract comes, that's the day you give up. And you will never get to know if you don't stick it through, right? So, David, I'm very curious about something. I tried to read your profile earlier. To be honest, it felt like reading a novel because of just how much you have done with yourself.
You're calling me old again, but let's get over that.
I am not calling you old.
But don't me with
you are the one who talked about being in business for 32 years. I did not say you're old. Joanna was probably thinking 32. Wow. But I think it's the range of things that I've seen you do that's amazing. And here's why I want to talk about it, is because every advice that I have personally received about success and growth and everything is focus. They say focus. Find something, really, really focus on it and become the best at it, and you will succeed. You are in everything. You're a DJ. You're a CPA. You are in real estate. You nurture creatives, and the list goes on and on. How do you make that happen? First and foremost, is it intentional? Yeah. And what would you say, like to the gentleman earlier who has a spices business and a Google AdSense business and something else? How do you make that work?
So the first thing, because I don't want to create false hope, being an entrepreneur, especially in Kenya, I tell you it's an accidental thing, first of all. Why do I say accidental? No one is ever born and says, oh, at the age of 4, I want to be an entrepreneur. It's not something that you necessarily sit when you're very, very young and think, that is necessarily, I say, because you can have obviously a lot of influence around you. However, entrepreneurship is born out of some of the things you mentioned. Passion. So particularly for me as a creative, it started off as a hobby. Things started off as a hobby. And what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs, we start doing things for fun to an extent. Even if you start doing a lot of biashara, it's like you call it kahustle. And it moves from hustle to stop being called a hustle, because suddenly you're actually making a full living out of it. And that's where the switch actually happens. And sometimes you don't plan for that switch. Sometimes it was just like a side hustle, And some people even leave employment to, fully go into entrepreneurship full time because of that. So it's no different as a creative. We start off as musicians, as photographers, as poets, and we're doing a wedding at our uncle's daughter is getting married, so we sing, and then somebody says, oh, that was really nice, here's 1,000 shillings. And that's the first time sometimes you've ever been paid for it. And I always, in my training, I like to talk to people about that aha moment, the first time you were paid for your skill or your art or your service or whatever. No one ever forgets it. John, I'm sure you can't forget the first day, right? It's like, how was it for you? Like the first time you were paid?
It was really amazing. It wasn't even much, by the way. It was not even much. But yeah, YouTube paid me for making videos. I had been doing it for like 6 months, by the way. And yeah, I can't forget. And it was a check, a physical check.
See that
money in your hands.
I tell you, I mean, and I'll say this to all budding entrepreneurs out there. Photocopy or scan that first check or that first payment, even if it's that deposit in the bank. You will remember this, and trust me, you will thank me later. Scan it, put it in a memoir somewhere. Just put it, because that will bring you back to basics. That will always remind you where you started. And to answer your question further, Alex, it's the reason I've been able to have multiple passions and multiple businesses. Yes, is because of focus, actually. But the focus is actually on timekeeping.
Okay.
That's been one of my saving graces. And probably because I came through a financial world where timekeeping and accounting was very precise, it actually helped me manage multiple businesses. And it has helped me to date, I have to admit. As much as I begrudgingly entered the financial world, it actually has paid off. So, yes, it is possible to focus on more than one business and be successful in them. But I think it's also very important to realize that you've got to finish what you started. And even if it doesn't work out, just see it through. Don't panic. Don't get what they call failure paralysis, the fear of failure, and then you don't get on with it. Just finish it, and the learnings you'll get from there will be measurable, better than any PhD school you ever get.
Interesting. And Elizabeth, I know you want to talk about this, and I actually wanted you to talk about it because I feel like it can get, whether it's concerning or confusing for you as a banker, when you meet a young person that says, I have 6 businesses. Inaleta elfu mbili, inaleta elfu tano. How does that relationship then look like?
Okay. So I like what David has said. You know, you can't just, you may not just have one passion. Yeah, you can have a series of passions. But I think as far as the banking world is concerned, is how disciplined are you in those passions that you've undertaken? How are you, diligently following through with the money that you receive? Because I know a lot of young people and, old people alike, when we get money, what do? We tend to pass by Kachoi somewhere and, the money disappears.
We chop the money.
You chop the money and you don't really track the money. For us as a bank, we tend to want to see where the money is going. How are you keeping track of your expenses? How are you keeping track of your costs? I mean, some of the things that we do as we start expanding into our passions are really things that we need to avoid doing. For instance, incurring costs, just accumulating costs. Sometimes we also do work and we don't follow through on payments. You're doing work, but you're not getting paid. Somebody's telling you, come back after 30 days. You don't come back after those 30 days. You don't push them for that payment. So you get strangled in, the things that you do. You're passionate about those things, but you strangle yourself. You almost like self-sabotage. So I always say to people who are starting business, do the homework. Do the homework to start off with the hard work of understanding what's a business plan. You're passionate about it, that I understand. But do your homework in arranging, organizing, following through with, learnings of that environment that you want to work with. I give a good example of one of the clients that I met, and I did mention to him that I was going to have talk about his story. When he started off, like most of the youth, you go in and take a degree course. So he did engineering. And electrical engineering for that matter, and came out so happy. He had ticked the box, a degree. He had sorted out his parents because his parents wanted him to have a degree. Yeah. He was on to now what they call a good job. Now you come into the Kenyan environment. How many engineers do we have? We have quite a number. And not only just engineers, those people who wanted to be engineers but now found themselves, doing something whatever else it is that you do in that space. So he didn't quite get as many jobs, but in that journey, he was able to, visit different areas because his work couldn't just be in Nairobi. So he'd go into Western Kenya, do this, that, in the same field. So in electrical engineering, wiring people's homes, but what he realized in that process is that he was able to establish fantastic contacts in wherever he went to, especially in the Western Kenya. Now, what did that do for him? When the jobs totally died down, and now he had to do a proper SWOT analysis of where does he want to go with this degree. Now he has this degree, but now he can't deal. He has to pay his bills. He has got a family. So what did he do then? He said, I have contacts in all these places. I have, social skills. I'm able to interact. And he's ended up being a distributor. Now, how would an engineer end up being a distributor? But he's followed his passion because he enjoys interacting with people. He had the contacts. He distributes water. When the water business is not, he distributes, I think he met up with some Bidco people, and now he's distributing juices. Wow. He found that perhaps the car that he has was small. He can't distribute a lot of water and juices. He ended up distributing Pampers because they're lighter. And you know what I mean? So he's followed through on that sort of his passion. And so you can't stop him. He can't stop it because he knows his strengths and he knows his opportunities and he's gone for it. So for me, I keep on telling people, their businesses, please think through, work through your business plan. Make sure you have a business continuity plan. Interact with mentors. I know I like what David said. He talked about having a mentor and you have a coach, people whom you can talk to. If you don't have, come to Absa. We'll introduce you to those coaches and mentors because the idea is to have as much information as possible. To have somebody you can fall back on and say, gosh, I'm struggling. How can you think things differently? But I'm passionate about what I do. And we're always willing to help. So I think that is my share for now.
That's such a wealth of information, and I'm glad we have you. Jonah, there was a time in my life when I could say, as young people, I'm very quickly getting past being able to say that. So you'll allow me to say you young people because, it's tricky now, I mean, there's lovely words that I'm hearing, think things through. I'm hearing discipline. Elizabeth has said SWOT analysis 3 times. I've been counting since we started this session. Yeah, she's talked about business continuity planning. She's talked about a business plan, right? She said that even if you decide to do 6 or 7 things, make sure that each of them is properly structured, because that's the only way you become bankable. Now, you young people, these things are just, they're boring, let's face it. It's just like, come on, me, I just want to shoot my videos, you know? So let's do a quick health check on your business. How much of all these things that Elizabeth and David have talked about are you honestly doing at Joanna K?
Well, we can start with okay, first of all, let me just say, when I was starting, I didn't really have a business plan. I mean, okay, maybe not in the formal sense of the word. I mean, I knew how much I needed to start. Yeah. I knew what I wanted to start with. So essentially, it's a business plan, just not a structured business plan. I think sometimes people usually take a bit too long to start because they want to perfect the business plan, which for me, I think, I mean, just have something, you know, have a way forward and just go ahead and start. You don't have to have everything, you know, you don't have to have 10, 20 years projections. I think, in fact, I would say for me, it's been easier for me to do some of these things in a more structured way once I started, because I had no idea what was on the other side of starting. But now that I'm there, I'm able to sit down and say, okay, I mean, I can actually project and do all those
things that they're talking about.
In terms of mentorship and coaching, that one is, let me just say, I have mentors and coaches online through the podcasts I listen to. I don't have like someone who I go to tell me about things. I mean, about my own business. So I think I would definitely say that it's important to listen to podcasts and things related to what you're doing, like what you're, you know, they say the people who you surround yourself, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. I think it also applies to social media, because a lot of us spend so much time on social media. So you have to be keen to surround yourself on social media with people who can push you, you know, so the podcast, the YouTube videos and all of that. What else? What other health checks is there?
I actually have a question for Joanna.
Okay, go for it.
Because, you know, and as old as I look, I actually know what social media is. No, on a serious note, a lot of people may look at, a lot of younger people around your age may look at your success and think, that was so easy. Look at it, you know, because you make it look easy, and that's you're in the business of image, so to speak. And it's very easy for someone to just think it's a walkthrough. 1-2 years, I can also be like that. What is the real truth behind that journey? I mean, I think that would be a wonderful. Even I want to hear it. To be honest, I'd like to know. Was it that easy? Is it as easy as it looks?
You should watch her video.
Not at all.
I actually have. That's why I'm asking that.
It's not at all easy. And actually, when you guys are mentioning discipline, that there's the passion side and then there's also the discipline side, I feel like even before I started, I would just be like, no, passion will carry the day. You know, I'll just start, and because I love it, I'll just keep going, and it'll just be amazing. But the truth is, no. You won't always feel like doing something, including making videos. I love creating content, but there are those days when I wake up and I just couldn't be bothered, you know. But because I've committed to putting out one video this week, I have to do it. So I think it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And especially for me, what I do creating content has to do a lot with me. you know, if I'm feeling down, and I'm not saying I have to get up and fake it, but I have to do things to kind of get myself into the, you know, into the spirit of filming, let's call it. So it's not easy. It looks easy, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And to top it all off, everyone around you thinks it's easy. You know, so what have you been doing, Ati? You've just been in your room filming videos. Okay. So it's challenging, and especially when everyone else around you thinks it's so easy. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, it's the persistence once again. It doesn't matter how you feel. Just get up and do it. And it's the, okay. I want to take another quick break because you guys are giving me too much to consume, and I'm sure maybe my audience is also feeling the same. But as we take the quick break, I want you to do a self-health check against the things that have been discussed here. So everything from, you know, the mentorship, the discipline of getting up every day to do what you should do, you know, getting your books straight, doing your business continuity planning, all those things that we've just talked about. If you were to do a quick, honest self-health check, how do you think you're doing? Just share with me on the chat, and let's just have a quick conversation about it. See you in 30 seconds. That was good. That was very good.
Africanacity is Paul Kihuha turning scrap metal into affordable film equipment. At Absa, we love Africanacity and believe in working with you to get things done.
We're back. Hi guys. So I want to see some of the responses that have come through, and then we'll keep the conversation going. Let's see. Sarah is saying, I really lack discipline. Oh, Sarah, I feel you. That's I lack that too. I'm still working on that. Steve says, I am not doing well in record keeping. Not so good. Okay. At least now you know that it's important before you go talk to Elizabeth, so please start working on that. Dorothy says she lacks mentors, and I think I'll be interested to know from you guys just how to go about that business of getting mentors. So, and I appreciate the feedback that is coming through. But I mean, that's the whole point of what we are doing today, guys, is to understand what we need to improve, what we need to change, what we need to undo even, just so that we can be able to grow our businesses and succeed, you know. And so I'm glad to see that there is that honesty and candid self-check on how you're doing. I want to get into a slightly depressing conversation. And you guys will just have to bear with me. Yeah? Okay. David, your biggest failure in business, can you tell us about it?
Phew, I thought you were going to ask me about football. So
it cannot be related to Man U. It has
no, we
to
started talking about depressing. I was like, I can name a team that's quite depressed right now, but let's not get into that right now, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I'm very happy to talk about my failures because, first of all, before I do, actually, I think failure is actually part of your road to success. Just remember that fact. Failing is the PhD and master's in entrepreneurship. If you've never failed, it's like if you've never been heartbroken, you will never know true love. There's a quote. You can quote me on that one. But please tag me on my social media at David Murady. But to be on a serious note, there's so many failures. I've run 17 creative businesses in 32 years, and 10 of them failed. In fact, abysmally, I lost money on quite a number of them. But I tell you what, the beauty of it is I learned to be present and very still in the learning of what did I learn from it, okay? So for me, it's not so much important as to where I failed or what I failed in. It's did I get any learning from it? I failed at running successful partnerships in some businesses. You know, when you have businesses, you start with friends sometimes, and then you fall out over small things, and you don't know how to manage that relationship. Sometimes you don't know how to manage your credit, as was mentioned earlier. You're not collecting money fast enough. You've done a lot of biashara, but your cash flows are down. That means the money going out is more than the money coming in. So remember to always collect your debts. I've done businesses that were copying other businesses. So as you mentioned, you know, across the road, there's somebody doing an M-Pesa and let me copy them. And then before we know it on the street, there's 20 of us for 4 customers. And I'm not the chosen one, and you know that failed. So I've seen all the failures that I think are possible to be seen in a creative entrepreneur. Yeah. But I can tell you that's what makes me good at what I do right now, teaching young people how to actually run businesses better, avoid my hurdles and others, before me, by actually picking up these skills. And I like what Joanna said about even if you can't find a physical mentor, there's ways to find mentorship to help you avoid those pitfalls.
Yeah. And so would you say that is, you would have avoided some of these mistakes had you done a better job with finding mentors?
Totally. And later on, as I developed in my life, I was very lucky to get some very good mentors, and different mentors in different aspects of my life. I had a creative mentor. I say had because he passed away. His name was Hugh Masekela. He was my creative mentor and very good friend for about 22 years. I have a business mentor. I have a personal mentor. So I have mentors in my life, and certainly the change from when I had those mentors to when I didn't is like night and day.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Thank you for that. Elizabeth. So I'm sure the story that David is talking about, in your capacity, because you get to interact with a lot of businesses, you've watched failures. Some of them that probably broke your heart, you know. Just what can you share with us from that space, and what would you advise the people watching today on just some pitfalls to avoid? Yeah.
First and foremost, when a customer comes to me and I ask him the same questions, speak to me to some of the failures, and you tell me, no, I don't have any failures, I'll be really worried. Yeah. I'll be really worried, because it just means that maybe you're not being as honest as you possibly would want I'd want you to be, because it's a relationship we're getting into. And also in the failures that you have, then I know you're able to, you've learned from those failures, or we can help you learn from those, the failures that you've gone through. Yeah. So it's not and for me, it's not necessarily a failure. It's the challenges that you've gone through, that then we turn around and say, these challenges, twist them this way, add in some mentorship, add in some networking, and you're off to an opportunity. Yeah. So it's not always doom and gloom to come across challenges or, what you'd call failures. Sometimes in that failure lies a great opportunity, and you just need to see it. You need to be in the right frame of mind to see it. The other thing that I'd also encourage, the people as you're moving forward into business is you need to know yourself. I know sometimes we say, I'm young, and what's this knowing yourself? You need to know, how do you show up? How do you communicate? There are some of us who are introverts, some of them are extroverts, some have issues with this, some have issues with that. Whatever it is that makes you, your profile, yourself, do you know who you are? I mean, for me, I know, I profile myself, and I profiled it because there's lots of profiling programs on screen, on the internet. You can go in and just profile yourself, and what does it tell you about yourself? What do your friends tell you about yourself? Because in that, you're able to then position yourself better. Why do I say this? It's because sometimes you find when people come to the bank, they want to have a conversation. They know their stuff. They have passion. They have their numbers. They have their plans. But when they come, they break apart. Simply because you are not an extrovert or you're not able to handle that, one-on-one conversation. So if I was in that person and I knew that's my situation, I would come with somebody to support me have that conversation and may help me put my best foot forward. So in knowing myself, I've been able to mitigate what would be my weakness and put my best foot forward. So I would encourage, again, young people, know yourself, know what it entails to be in that business. The other thing is, look around and see other people who are in similar, because now you have the benefit of having internet. You can be able to see what other things people have done so that you also avoid the challenges and the mistakes. I know Jack Ma said, some of the things he's learned a lot over is the mistakes he's made or the challenges. Those are the things that have helped him propel him to where he is today. Even when you look at some of the great names, the Warren Buffetts, the Jeff Bezos, all those people, they have a story.
Yeah.
They never got it right on the firsts. They never did,
True.
So what are we saying? Why should you be the first person to get it right and go and blow yourself into a multi-billionaire without making mistakes? Yeah. Mistakes are there. But it goes back to your resilience, your perseverance, the passion you have, the understanding of yourself, just to be able to put your best foot forward. And then look for support where necessary. I know what Joanna said around, can you get somebody who's got in a similar industry? The coach I have is not even in my industry. Has nothing to do with my industry. However, is able to see things different and able to guide me in a direction. Yeah. And ask me, have you thought about this? Have you, seen this? This is some information you might need. I went through her phone contacts and asked her, can I see all the people who are on your phone? Because I want to know what other connections they can help me with in the networking. So with that, I was able to say, but I've been looking for this person. Connect me. That sort of thing.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So it's not necessarily and you're in an area where not many people have the experience. So the question is, do you have all the skills or all the other views for you to be able to support your business? It is important.
I see.
It is important.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm loving that, and I'm hearing the point around, you're not an island, so you have to figure out how to surround yourself and build a structure that then propels you to where you want to go. Coaches and mentors. One of them, your bank is probably your other one if people actually took advantage of it, People who have complementary skills. I'm hearing that you want to have those people in your life as well. And it sounds to me like it has to start with you being very honest about what you can and what you can't do, right? And then now work your way back to see what that can happen, right?
Absolutely.
Interesting. I had... in your video, when you were giving the anecdotes about dealing with manufacturers and how you got played, and I think that's a very good case study of what Elizabeth is just talking about. Just please share a little bit about that with us, for those who may not have seen the video.
Okay, so what I was saying in that video, it's a video I did on my YouTube channel where I was talking about the hard truths I've learned running a business, and one of them that I said is that along the way, just because you're green and because you don't know so many things, you could end up losing money here and there, So one of the things I was talking about has to do with shipping, shipping in goods and how I've been scammed, and it's only now later when I looked back and I was like, hiya, this person overcharged
Actually
me, like
really,
really, they played me completely,
Yeah.
So I think I really like what Elizabeth has said, that you have to know yourself. If you're starting a business, like for me, I'm very creative. I want to be involved in the product development, what shades, the formula, how do I want it to feel, but I'm not so good at things like logistics and things like shipping. So being honest with myself has been really important. I can't do these things.
Yeah.
So I have to either ask for advice from people who know these things or actually pay people to do these things for me.
Yeah.
yeah, I think, yeah, if I had just accepted that earlier on, I would have saved myself a lot of money. Yeah.
You were just being a Kenyan. Don't worry.
Let me
we all
do it.
started off
Let
that
me
way.
save.
We do everything. You're asked, can you supply 5 tons of ballast?
Yes.
Then you Google what is ballast. That's the Kenyan way. We are entrepreneurs at heart. But over time, I guess, then we find out we need other skills.
Yeah. I get that. Oh my goodness, time is flying. But I'm really enjoying myself. I hope you guys are too.
Totally.
So I was going to ask a question around branding, but then I can see even my audience has preempted it by asking questions. So this is a question to David and Joanna. Oh, we are in Q&A now, just for avoidance of confusion. So David and Joanna, how do they keep up with all the social media negativity, toxicity, or even positivity? Have they been overwhelmed by either? And as you just ponder about that question for a bit, both of you are in a space where your brand goes a long way in you growing that business. And I just wanted you guys to also share some tips around how to actually build that brand. And then make sure it's not, there's also brand building, but frivolous brand building where, frivolous brand, there are too many R's in there. The kind that doesn't really add value, you're just famous, right? But then there's the kind of brand building that actually puts money on the table. And I just wanted you guys to speak to that as well. But as you do, also talk about, social media is social media. So haters gone hate, all those people are going to do their thing. How are you guys managing that? And I'll start with you.
Let me start with the negativity one because, that one is definitely a very big part of what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, when you share your life with people, they feel like they can comment on it, which, they can.
Yeah.
But some of the comments can be quite nasty. To be honest with you, some of these things I'm still figuring out as well. So sometimes I'll think that I've moved past it, and then I get a negative comment and I'm just like, and it comes with a lot of self-doubt. So I think I would say just be very confident in what you're doing, and also just remember that the negativity is usually like 1 or 2%. All of it, all the rest is love. So choose. You can choose. You have the power to choose what to focus on.
Yeah.
So choose to focus on the positivity as opposed to the 2-3 negative comments.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Now tell me about your brand. How have you built this brand? I mean, when you started out, I'm sure nobody knew you.
Yeah.
And now, hundreds of thousands of people seem to know you now, if not more. So how did you do that, and how are you using that to grow your business?
I'm going to say something that everyone always says. It's quite cliche, but I was just myself. And it's the advice I always give people who want to start a channel. Just be yourself. You don't need to have an accent if you don't have one. Just talk the way you talk. Just talk the way you talk. For me, I think being myself is what really drew people to my content. Because like I told you, a lot of the content that was being put out when I started, people were using very expensive products. I couldn't afford those products, so I wasn't gonna go online, and I struggled to get the product so that I can show people. So I started with products I could afford. I have videos where I used to go to Dubois, not to buy makeup, but to buy tools and such.
Yeah.
So just be yourself. I don't know what else to say about this one. Be yourself and then be consistent. Consistently show up as yourself, and also consistently, if you're doing videos, consistently put out videos.
It's the persistence. Just don't
keep
stop.
Keep going and just keep being yourself.
I love that.
Be authentic.
Great. David?
I think Joanna took the words right out of my mouth. Authenticity is everything, because authenticity is sustainable. When you're sort of trying to create an image that's not really yours, you'll do it for a while, but after a while you run out of steam, because you're also only human, so the real side will come out at some point without even realizing. So it's sort of easier if you're just yourself.
Yeah.
And don't give in to pressure to be something you're not. And I like what you've said about just, sometimes, are there, okay, I have, compared to Joanna's followers, I have like 100th less than her followers.
You have a decent following. Don't downplay your following.
all the 5 people who follow me are very personal friends of mine. But from those 5, when one of them talks badly, I actually celebrate them because I say, well, at least you're watching. There's a reason you're commenting because you're actually watching me. Oddly enough, and that's the funny thing about this social media world. They're there commenting because they actually, in a strange way, sort of care. It's a very twisted concept, of voyeurism. People love to watch. That is that and they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, so to speak. It's in the same vein that when people are talking about you, at least you're relevant. So I always say to people who are out there, when you put yourself out there, know that it comes with a price, and have a strong stomach for it, especially if you're going to be in the social media scene of a creative business. But trust me, it should just egg you on. It should energize you to say, well, at least they're watching. Let me give them something more to talk about. And I think managing brands as well, managing your brand. How do you grow your brand? You grow your brand through what you just said, authenticity. I agree with that, absolutely. But also innovation, which is what you've done as well, very, very well, I have to say. You've got to constantly reinvent yourself. In whichever business you're doing, by the way, you've got to constantly reinvent yourself. And what do I mean by reinvent? It's every so often take stock. Am I doing the best that I can in what I'm doing? Can I do it differently? Can I do something else to keep people interested in what you're providing, whether it's a service or a product? You might have been providing sugar, raw sugar. Then you think, can I start packaging it maybe, and selling it to different markets, etc. Shall I change the color on the packaging? And you can literally innovate on anything. I think that's very important for sustenance of a business and of the brand as well. The last but not least, amongst very other things, is keeping your customer, and your customer in especially us who are in the social media field, is the person watching you, is the person following you, but keeping your customer engaged. Find a way to let your customer feel like they matter. It's so important in anything you do, by the way. It doesn't matter whether you're off social media or on it, but keep your customer engaged. Don't be so above that so answer your DMs, answer your messages as best as you can. As I say, at least I get 5, I only have 5 people following me, so at least I can manage mine. But I can imagine someone like Joanna has a few 100,000, DMs coming in. Obviously, you can also get somebody to manage that conversation for you as well, if it gets a bit overwhelming. But that interaction with a customer, I do it as a DJ when I take a request. And when I play somebody's request in a club, let me tell you, that person becomes your biggest supporter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's really, you have a big audience, but try and make it feel very personal.
Absolutely.
I love that. And is that also the reason why, you've got a decent chunk of following, and I have people here who are very curious, how do you build that kind of a following? Are these the same things that helped you build that following, or did you do other tricks here and there?
No tricks, imagine. I was just authentic, and I was very consistent. Extremely consistent. Yeah. So when I started, for the first few months I used to put out 1 video every single week. Come rain, come shine. I moved that up to 2 videos per week. Then I moved that up to 3 videos per week. So I was very consistent.
And for 5 years, that's a long time to do that.
Yeah. So you have to be consistent, and not just in social media, just generally, I would say. Just generally.
Like Elizabeth, brands, social media followers, does that mean anything to a bank? when I come to you?
No, absolutely it does. It does. Social media can make or break you, as you know, in our industry. And it's important to also get feedback from social media, because sometimes people feel that they need to talk to you, and that's their way of giving you their feedback. So it is also important for a bank and institutions to just listen to what social media is putting out there and respond to it as authentically as possible. So if you know, you know. If you don't know, you say you don't know, but give me time, I will come back to you and deal. It's important for a brand as well to add value. You know, in a conversation where banks are concerned, we always try to see how much value can we add. And that is the reason why we say it's important to have conversations with us, because, you know, you might think you have everything that you need. But when you come to us and tell, a lot of the times entrepreneurs will come to us and say, I want a loan. I want a loan, I want a loan. But when I analyze, I find it's not a loan you need. It's actually working capital, which is different from a loan. So what other things can we do to support you? Then I talk to you a bit about insurance. Many people don't like to hear about insurance, but you know, to go into a business, it's important to understand that insurance can be there for you when somebody removes the umbrella from you. So I think it's important as a brand, and this is what Absa is also big on, is just adding value, innovating. Now we're into the digital space. We can't run away from it. Reduction of costs is important, just like it is for any business. So it is important that, you know, we go the digital direction. We've provided those platforms for a lot of our customers. In a domain like this, when we've had a lot of COVID disruptions, those are the things that have helped us move forward, you know, and just adding value. And so we train our staff a lot to have conversations and to add value, to respond as best as you can. I know we have a fantastic team behind the scenes that responds to our digital platform, but also it's important to just be authentic. Be as honest as possible in those conversations. So don't overpromise and underdeliver, because as a brand, that is one of the biggest, downfalls you can have. So, I think.
Okay, good. And I just want to say for the audience, for avoidance of doubt, social media followers does not count as collateral for a loan, right? Is that true?
No, okay, so it doesn't necessarily count for, but it helps us view how many people are watching you. You know, it would be interesting to see how many people would support you in whatever it is you're doing. How many people are interested? I mean, those things count for something, but doesn't necessarily count for how much more money I'm going to give you. But depending again on your content and why people are on it. So, but yes, it would be important for us to just see, you know, what do people say about your brand? Maybe it's something that we don't know. Because every time people come to the bank, they try to put their best foot forward. But then when you go into the social media and Google them, and they're like, but this is different from what you're putting across. Those things do count for something.
And most people don't know this. When I discovered it as well, I was very surprised that bankers, there's what the bank asks you to bring.
Yes.
People don't actually know that we go and actually do our own research.
We do our homework
on your business.
Like I said, it's not our money. It is shareholders' money, and it's important for us to lend it in a most responsible manner so that it can come back. So how do you lend it to somebody whom you can see is irresponsible? So those things do count.
So watch your social media pages and what you're doing on your social media pages. There's a question here which I think is worth tackling in the short time that we have left, which is, so she says they've come together they're as a group and they're trying to do something, and they've been planning to save money with the bank, with the income that they're getting, and then borrow. But her fear is, which I think is a fear many people share, is borrowing the loan and then struggling to pay the loan, and then that becoming, so when the inevitable failure comes, and then you had borrowed a loan. So I just wanted to just speak to that element of what happens in that point where genuinely I'm now in a ditch.
Okay, so for any business, it's like we said initially, once you start a business and you come to us and we are willing to support you in terms of a loan, I mean, we'll have looked through your financial background or your structure or whatever it is that you're doing, so that we are happy to give you the facility, knowing that you can pay back. Then you have disruptions like the COVID environment. Nobody anticipated it, but it had huge impact on your business. Now, at that point, this is what I say, ladies and gentlemen, is do not run away from the bank. Your bank becomes your best source of information. Your way forward can be provided to you by the bank. Because, for instance, in the COVID environment, we were able to, as Absa, to restructure facilities. We were able to give loan repayment holidays for those who were struggling. We were able to then say, look, we can give you information in terms of webinars that we were holding, because clearly we can see you did not have maybe a business continuity plan. You need to take your business online. It is not online. We needed to provide you with some skills to manage the stress environment that you're going through. Those are things that we can be able to do as a business to support you. Sometimes there are tough things that we ask you to do. For instance, when you say cut costs, because sometimes costs might be your biggest impediment. That is what's bringing your business down. And we tell you, cut costs, and you're saying, how can I let go of my new vehicle?
Yeah.
But selling that might be able to propel you to the next. So it's a situation, it's a relationship in good and bad times. So take advantage of it. Don't run away, because a lot of the times people now switch off their phones, change their numbers, then we are looking for you. When we find you, it's a different conversation. It will be 3, 4, 5 months down the line. And remember, on the back of it, it is somebody's money that I lent to you with the understanding that you're going to pay back. When bad times come, as soon as you start seeing them, talk to us. Tell us, this is the situation I'm finding myself. Are others also in the same situation?
Yeah.
We share. We're not necessarily giving you names, but we share. And when somebody is able to, share with you, then you say, maybe you're struggling here, but I can connect you, because we are also connectors. In the business that we are in, as a bank, we are connectors. So do not run away. We are human. We are here to support. Some businesses that have come and explained to us what the problem is are probably the most exciting and most prosperous businesses that we have today. And in that sharing, I think you're better off than running away, because it doesn't help to run away.
I think that's fair. Thank you for that. David, there's a question here which I think you would be best pleased to take, given what you do. What can you tell somebody who is trying to decide to quit their job to start up a business? What advice can you give?
First of all, that's usually a very difficult question to answer, because obviously it depends on the circumstances. But one of the things you can do to at least reduce any adverse effects, because it doesn't always follow that if you leave your business into entrepreneurship, it will succeed. The way I like to look at it, and as I said, we're Kenyans earlier on, we always have side hustles. If you're doing a side hustle, and I imagine that might be one of the decisions to want to change your career, because you can see a potential, but you feel you need to give it more time for it to reach its full potential. Have a very strong savings culture. If that's your side hustle, then let it be also your side saving, for lack of a better description. Build enough side capital to be able to maybe run your business for at least 6 months, I would argue. For at least 6 months survival, not just your business, but personal survival. If you can build up enough savings to do that, then maybe you can start taking those kind of risks, so to speak. The other thing in doing it, which is very important, and people don't talk about this, is when you're leaving employment, don't burn your bridges. You might need them back in 6 months' time. So don't burn your bridges. And much like what Elizabeth has talked about, talk to the bank, don't also run away from your employer. Explain to them actually why you want to leave. Say you'd like to try something out, and you've really enjoyed working here, and you've learned those skills, and you just like to branch out. And again, employers, of course, are human. More times than not, they'll be actually happy to see you grow. I know people are going like, not my boss, not my boss. Well, I get it. Not every boss is like that, but generally, just leave in a good way, because they could also become your next customer. Remember that as well, and vice versa. So the other thing is planning. I think planning has been talked about. And much like Joanna said, when we're starting off in these things, sometimes we didn't plan, we just started doing stuff. And after a while, we built the business plan after the fact. But if you have the opportunity to be able to plan before the fact, take advantage of it. Take advantage of finding out from people who've done it before you. Get as much information as you can. Apply for a loan. Remember that tip? See if it can stand up to, withstand the test.
Yeah.
And then just have a very strong stomach. Yeah.
I like that. I had somebody tell me once that if you can live for 3 months on your side hustle without having to touch your salary, then you can quit.
I would say 6.
You're saying 6. So there
I
you
would
go.
argue 6 in this day and age, yes.
Yeah.
And depends obviously on your responsibilities as well. Do you have children? Do you have a partner? You know, then that adds those numbers a bit more. Maybe it could be a year's worth of savings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. People are really interested in the point of mentors. I think it has really resonated with people. But the concern is how to go about it, how to go about getting mentors. So I would just want each of you brought a very interesting angle of finding social media mentors. I had never even thought about that. So I would want to hear more about how to actually go about that. But maybe starting with Elizabeth, like the mentor you saying you have, how did you go about getting this mentor, and how can the audience also do the same?
Very interesting. So there are many ways of getting mentors. Sometimes mentors in the environment that you operate in, it's just that you've never really asked them. And I think the important part is acknowledging the fact that you need a mentor and then making an effort to go and get a mentor. They don't normally find you, you find them.
You find them.
And it's not always that the first person you interact with is going to be the only mentor that you have. So similar to what David said, you can have 3 or 4 mentors because it could be varied things that you need support in. I know some of the mentorship programs that we run here at the bank is, whenever we have the webinars, we're happy to share that information in terms of who are the mentors or the coaches that are going to be in that session.
Yeah.
But also we have very powerful business bodies that are in the Kenyan domain. So we have partnerships, for instance, with Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have Kenya Association of Manufacturers. We have OWIT, which is the Women in International Trade. We have International Trade Center, which is the She Trades program. We have Commonwealth Women. I'm just mentioning just a few of the groups that actually have mentoring coaching sessions inbuilt in those associations. So it is incumbent upon you to step out and join some of these groups, reach out to them, follow them, understand, now they have webinars, free information. You have professionals who are willing to support, All you need to do is reach out and say, I need help.
Yeah.
And help is available. Yeah. So most of the time, actually, we are our worst enemies. We just don't reach out. And therefore, we lose out on opportunities as they come across today. Today, we are in a COVID environment, but we have an opportunity because those people who you never reached out to could never find because they were stuck in their offices and they had security upon security and then PA before you get to them, now are available on social media. They are willing to respond, So how about not taking advantage of that and sending them text and saying, you raise a valid point. Apart from that, we have coaching organizations that are today available. Sometimes you have to pay a little to get something back. It is possible. But they do also have sessions. So reach out and just say, I need help. And you're willing, you'll get the information. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. David, anything you want to add to that?
No, that's very well said. I think the reaching out option is, and just to add to what Elizabeth has said, I think when you reach out to somebody, first of all, don't fear. What's the worst that can happen? They don't respond or they say no. Then you move on. It's a bit like dating. Put
your pride aside. Just
put your pride aside. Just, Valentine's is coming up. Just express yourself.
Oh my God.
But on a serious note, I think it's important to contact people, ask them, but also additionally, ask them very specifically what help you need. So, for example, I've reached out to people and said, could I get 2 hours of your time every 6 months? It's very specific, and they can gauge and check and say, okay, that's not a heavy load, because some of the people you're reaching out to are very, very, very busy, and they're also probably mentoring a host of other people. So sometimes they don't want to add on, and it's not because they're being proud; it's that they have their plate a little full. So don't take it personally. But if you're very specific about it, or a specific question, I am struggling with sales. I'm struggling with distribution of this, that, and the other. Could you advise me on? And sometimes just even getting that answer develops a relationship that then can become a mentor-mentee relationship. The other thing, as has been said, COVID taught us one thing: webinar. There's so much information. You can get a PhD in something right now by just attending webinars every week. So there's so much information out there that you might not even necessarily immediately, your need might not be a mentor per se, it might be access to information. So also know the difference. In the same way Elizabeth mentioned, you might not need a loan, it's maybe cash flow that you need, as working capital. So in the same way, be very clear about whether you need a mentor, do you need a manager, do you need an advisor, do you need a coach, do you need a business partner, do you need to employ somebody to do something for you, so be very clear about what space you actually need and what,
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Joanna, social media mentors, how to go about getting that?
For me, I would say actually David has made it a bit more clear for me. I think there's definitely a difference between the kind of mentorship you're talking about and what I'm talking about.
And what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what I'm talking about is more of the access to information.
I see.
You know, the webinars where you can learn things. Although the thing is, a lot of people don't actually take advantage of these things. You know, their webinars, they're free. But you also, I think sometimes you can get into a space where you think, I already know that. I already know that. I don't need that. But I think for me, I would want to look more into getting mentors. And I'm also learning, by the way. So I think for me, what I've really learned is to just ask. The worst you can get is a no, just ask. Yeah. And there are people already around you who you could already ask right away. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just ask. There's no secret to it. Our time is almost up. And I just, before I just ask for a quick wrap up from each of you. There's a question here with Joanna I think you'll be best placed to answer. And the challenge that I'm seeing several questions tackling is social media, likes, following, retweets, etc., turning that into sales, right? And I think you're an interesting case study because, when you just used to do YouTube videos and stuff, that works great because Google will pay you for the ads. Brands like us maybe will come and work with you and then they'll pay you something. But when you go into actually selling a product, those likes better count to something. So just how much? So there's a question about how much to invest in marketing as a startup. There's a question of how do you then turn the social media following into sales. And I just wanted you to share how you're going about that for your cosmetics company.
Okay, first, I think there's this misconception that if you have the likes and you start something, people will automatically support you or buy what you have to offer, which I think also coming into it, I had that expectation and I was very quickly humbled. So I think first of all, just put that expectation aside. You also have followers, but look at them as potential customers rather than automatic customers.
I see.
So when you start your business, if you already had a following, you're still going to have to do things you're still going to have to market to them. It's just that I think you have more potential customers than someone who's starting from zero. And then I would say marketing, in terms of budget, I don't know if I can say at an exact amount.
Or percentage-wise. How much of your income are you putting into advertising the business or marketing it?
I would say between 30 and 40% is how much we put in. And all of our marketing is on social media because my business is online. Yeah. So I think to add on to that, I would say when things get hard, marketing shouldn't be the first thing you slash. I think for a lot of people, that's usually the first thing they slash. Yeah. But you're forgetting that the marketing is the one that's bringing you the customers. So if it's the first thing you slash, then you're just digging yourself into a deeper hole. So, I don't know if there's a percentage that's supposed to be there, but I think it's just up to someone to decide for their own business. But marketing shouldn't be there. Like when COVID hit, I think a lot of people kind of slashed their marketing budgets. Yes. But I think even us, we did that. And then we realized, the same way we're getting customers can't be what we're slashing first. Yeah. So it shouldn't be slashed at all. I mean, you can reduce, but don't slash.
It's interesting that someone like you who's already built a brand still has to invest in marketing. So imagine you who, sorry to say, but nobody knows you. I mean, you're going to have to spend a little bit more on marketing. Okay, guys, we are done. It's 11:30. I think you've already shared more than enough, so I'm not going to ask for more. Elizabeth, I think there's been a lot of technical questions that have come through that I felt maybe we should do like just a quick separate fireside, and then you can just go through all of them. So we'll do that. But I want to say thank you so much, David, Elizabeth, Joanna. This was so much fun and so insightful. I hope all of you have also appreciated it. And again, thank you for being a wonderful audience and for interacting with us as much as you have. As I said at the very beginning, Ready to Work program, most of the things we've discussed here are actually being taught there. So please sign up, learn those lessons, and go apply for a loan. As David said, thank you and have a wonderful day.
Africanacity is Lorna Ruto recycling plastic waste into fencing poles that preserve the planet. At Absa, we love Africanacity and believe in working with you to get things done. Africanacity is Paul Kihuha turning scrap metal into affordable film equipment. At Absa, we love Africanacity and believe in working with you to get things done.